Welcome back to Creator Spotlight Season 2 from the Interface. My name's Alex, and today I'm joined by Sami Fathi from Supercharged News. We had Sami on the podcast last year in August. At the time, he was working for Mac Rumors, but now he's ventured out on his own and he's doing his own magazine. So, how are you doing, Sami? You okay?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. So, as I mentioned, since last time we had you on the Creator Spotlight podcast, you actually are my first guest that's a returning guest, which is awesome.
Awesome.
um, yeah. So, yeah, how long were you working on Supercharged News before you sort of moved away? It's quite a big project to undertake, really.
It is, yeah. I think it officially got its name, and I think it sort of officially formed into an entity towards late February, early to late
Okay.
February. But the idea of sort of venturing off and starting something new, was sort of something that was increasingly more prominent in my head from probably last summer.
Okay.
So certainly, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely how many people have you got? So I've noticed there's quite a few editors that are sort of writing stuff for the magazine, or the website. How many sort of people have you got behind you helping you out?
So in the newsroom, which is what we call sort of our main hub of operations, where we do all of our coverage. Um, I believe there's five of us in the newsroom, and then overall in the whole company, there's I believe 13 of us.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and we're a big team. From As I said, we have five people in the newsroom, and then everyone else, from business to web development, visual design, marketing. There's sort of a mix of everything in there. So yeah, we're decently large.
Yeah, and was it something that you started on your own? And what was the, if you don't mind me asking, how did you get such a big team together so quickly, and what's it like running that? If that's what you're doing.
Yeah, no, that is
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, one of the as you mentioned, undertaking something like this is quite a momentous task in the first place. And one of the biggest concerns I had going into this, and one of the things that sort of factored into decision making, sort of in the run up to whether this was something I really wanted to do, was how do you find good and talented people, right? I mean that is $1 million question. So I literally put out a tweet on Twitter. I was like, hey, if you're interested in tech and you like writing, send me a message. Um, I did not expect the level of response I got. I think the in number was a little bit shy of 500 responses.
Oh wow.
And then I interviewed, I want to say a good chunk of those people. I was just in interview after interview with people, and yeah, I boiled it down to the 13 that we have today. So it was a tough task to find people who I felt would be a good fit, and it's also important to find people who would work good together, right? Because you have one person that's really strong, but they're not able to work in a team
Hmm.
in a constructive and efficient way, then there's really no point. So yeah, and then managing that is definitely a daunting task. It definitely is overwhelming, but you kind of go through it day by day and then kind of figure it out from there.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
And I've noticed on the site there aren't any advertisements at the moment. So the website behind this podcast is the Interface. It's a podcast, let's say, website that's been running for about 10 years now, and the advertisement revenue from that site only just about covers the hosting, the raw cost of the website itself. What's the if we I can cut this out if you want me to.
No,
But
it's fine.
what's the sort of the money making behind it? Well, how's it staying afloat? A better word for it.
Yeah. Well, as of now, it's we're not making any profit as of now. Matter of fact, our cash flow is still zero. We have not made anything since we launched in March, which um, I was talking to someone who I won't mention who, but someone relatively prominent in the Apple News community, and something they made clear, and something that I'm fully aware of is it's a tough time. Economically around the world. It's a tough time to try and start something like this where you're really betting heavily on online advertisement, and you're really betting a lot on companies willing to pay for marketing, especially at a time when you have companies, downscaling their staff, cutting costs in
Hmm.
everywhere possible. That was definitely something that remains a concern. Um, but I think our longer term vision here is to offer an experience that's new, to offer uh, I think a lot of websites, you sort of have the front end the article that you read, and your experience kind of ends there. I mean, that's all there really is to that experience. You read one article, and
Hmm.
that's kind of it. Our vision and my vision for Supercharge is for it to be more of a holistic experience where it's more than just you go on the website and you read an article, right? You're part of this larger community. You're part of an experience that is convenient to you, not the other way around.
Yep.
So, in terms of the website ads, we will have ads on the website, but our commitment to readers is that you'll never see an ad that obstructs or misconceives you to thinking it's an article. I know if you go to other websites, they try and make ads look like articles because they want that click through. We'll never try and disguise you or misguide you in that sense. We'll never take up your whole screen with an article and with an ad, and you have to press the ad out to see the article. So we're trying to take a more reader-based, reader-focused approach to advertising. Time will tell whether it works. I'm confident that the sort of economic slowdown and the turmoil that we're seeing now is temporary. So yeah, time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, it's affecting a lot of companies. I mean, I remember reading a lot of stuff a few months ago that out of all the big companies that like you got Twitter that have done the same thing, and I was quite impressed to see that Apple hadn't done that, and
Mm,
Tim Cook had rather taken a pay cut than let people go, which is quite good of him. But yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely, you are right. It's definitely a hard time to start something new, but it's if that's what you wanted to do, it's great, and it's a very good website. So you've done a good job.
appreciate it. Thank you. I
Yeah.
I would I can't take all the credit. There's an incredible team behind that pour their heart and soul into it. So I'm just yeah, I may be the face, but there's certainly so many people behind that make it happen.
Are you still getting involved in writing as much as you used to, or
No, no.
no?
Uh, I I think since we've launched, I think I've probably written like around 15 articles.
Right.
um, yeah, it. I still love writing. I still love reporting and journalism. That's still where my passion lies. But I also have a very strong passion for leadership, for being able to lead a team and sort of have this vision and this end goal, and then being able to lead a team there. Um, so being able to mix those two things was sort of what I was looking for when I was sort of starting to think and contemplate about doing my own thing. But I'm certainly not writing as much as I would like to because there's just so much to focus on, and there's so many different areas that need my attention that it's really just very difficult for me to. I mean, I wrote an article earlier today because no one else was around to get it done, so I hopped on and wrote it pretty quick. So, other than those sporadic moments, it's kind of difficult for me to find the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely with this with more stuff going on with my site. There's definitely times when I've done admin things for the website and think, oh, I've got to
Mm.
write something now, and it's definitely it definitely yeah, time's a precious thing.
Yeah, there's not enough of it. I wish there was
Yeah.
more hours in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. And with the sort of stuff you'll end up covering, it's sort of with the name of it, you sort of lend yourself to not just Apple stuff. It's do you guys plan on covering more stuff that's not Apple, like um, the wider tech sphere, or is that something
Yeah.
you got planned?
It is. Yeah, we started with Apple because that's what uh, if you follow me on Twitter or really any of my social medias, you probably follow me because of my coverage of Apple. So we started with Apple because of that, but um, certainly I wanted to make sure that the brand was a brand that would outlast. Companies fade, and I'm not saying Apple is going to disappear tomorrow, but um, you have to prepare for realistic things. And plus, there's other tech out there besides Apple. So we do have plans to expand that as the business grows and as the as the resources allows it to expand coverage to more things than just Apple. But that's probably a little bit ways down.
Yeah, good. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening. I mean, um, I've got a big interest in electric cars, so I cover a lot of that stuff on my site.
Yeah.
And we've got a dedicated electric car podcast now as well. So it's there's a lot of stuff happening, and not just the Apple news. So it's an
Hmm.
interesting time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, that's a little bit about your website. So we're going to get on to some of the Apple news that's pretty much around the corner.
Mm.
So it sort of stuck up in me a little bit. I forgot that was happening. Um, we've got WWDC 2023 in a few weeks' time, pretty much. Um, what do you think they're going to announce? And I don't think it's an in-person event like years prior. I think it's still going to be a virtual like recording, and then they're going to have some people at Apple Park again. So what do you think is going to be announced this time?
I have really not given it much thought because I've been more sleepless about because this event will be the first event that we cover at Supercharge.
Yep.
It's going to be the real stress test for us, and I suspect we'll be pushed to we'll be pushed to our limits as a team for that. So um, I'm excited for it as a consumer. I'm extraordinarily scared about it as an owner. But I think it's definitely going to be one of Apple's biggest events they've probably ever had. Because I think a lot of people, obviously the thing that I think is going to get the most attention will be the headset. I think a lot of people are severely underestimating how important this launch is because to many people they're just launching this high end $3,000 headset that they're probably not going to end up buying. But what they're really doing here is they're setting the groundwork for the future of the company itself. This is going to be the first entry Apple has into the AR and VR space. Um, this is, it will be a turning point for the company. And I think in 10, 15 years down, we're going to look back at this event and it will become clearer than ever that that was the starting point for something new. So even if the one device they're announcing in a couple of weeks is for this niche, high-end, expensive device that's not going to target the mass consumer, it's still a very important launch. And I think Apple certainly knows that, and they're going to put on it's going to be a big show, no doubt about it. I think it'll be a spectacle to watch.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of well, I'm not sure if well, I don't really know. We don't know much about it really. Like, it could be just as important as the iPhone was 15 years ago. So um, it's maybe.
Yeah, I've heard some people use that sort of comparison. I wouldn't go as far as to say that because the iPhone was revolutionary because there was really nothing else like it in the market. There was no one
Right.
else going after something like that. It was such this sort of radical idea. It was so absurdly new that it just it blew up. I still think in many regards, Apple's headset is gonna, probably, blow Oculus and blow Meta and all of it. It's gonna throw them all out the water with the sort of technological advancements and the sensory and the computing process alone that this headset is gonna have. But it's not new in the sense that no one else is trying to do it, right? I mean, there are other people
Yep.
trying to do it. They're not going to do it as well, but it's still not new, right?
Hmm.
So I think the real iPhone moment is going to be when we get those AR glasses, which is what I'm personally most excited for. Now, obviously, that's a long ways down before the technology is ready for that. But that's personally what I'm most excited for, just to wear a pair of glasses and have that be everything there.
Yeah, definitely. There seems to be a lot of fuss around WatchOS this year. Apparently, it could be. I know I saw Mark Gurman say that it could be a massive change for the watch.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's some sort of UI change that's going to have
Mm.
a different layout for the apps. I haven't read too much into it, but um, it could be quite interesting.
Yeah, WatchOS I feel is sort of the when Apple's software team's meeting, I feel like WatchOS teams like stuck under the staircase and no one's paying attention to them. Because WatchOS needs some love. We every update. I mean, I really can't point to a major update that sort of sticks out to me. Every update has sort of felt more refinement than anything new,
Yeah,
at
I
least
agree.
for the last couple of years. In the beginning of WatchOS, there was more monumental updates every year because they were still laying the groundwork for the system. But now it does feel sort of stagnant. I mean, we get a few workout enhancements, a few new watch faces, but um, I'm looking forward, and I'm happy that Apple is finally giving attention to it. I think they have to, because in terms of hardware for Apple Watch this year, we're not expecting much new in the hardware front. So, if there's nothing new, really new with the hardware, give some attention to the software. So at least people feel like it's new if it's not really new. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I saw there was one report that it may support third party watch faces. Um, that will be interesting to see how that plays out. I know a lot of people have wanted that, and Apple has kind of stayed away from that and just giving developers more access to complication data on the watch.
Yep.
So it will be interesting to see the system that they use for those third party watch faces if it does end up happening, and how developers make use of it. Right? I mean, I could imagine, I don't want Instagram releasing a watch face that like updates with the latest post from my feed every time I look at my wrist. Or, I don't want Facebook to have a watch face that like shows me an ad every time I look at my wrist. So I'm sure there'll be safeguards in place to prevent something like that. I'm just joking, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, you mentioned the hardware. I did see something the other week saying that the watch has had the same basic processor for the last 3 years, maybe, or 2 3 years.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
been, I don't know if it's been like add-ons or refinements to it, but apparently the watch this year is going to have a brand new CPU. So
it is. It has been the same chip,
yeah,
other than just the name of it. It's
yeah,
been, in terms of the actual CPU and processing power, it's been the same. Which, I mean, people make a fuss about it because on paper it looks bad when you look at three watches in a row and they all have the same exact specs.
yep,
But at the same time, I have never had my watch lag or slow down. It performs perfectly well. So,
yeah,
if it's not broken, don't fix it type of thing. I think what that tells me more than anything is, if that rumor does end up being true, is that there is something in terms of the software side that's going to require more processing. That it could be those third party watch faces, because that may take some extra processing resources. Could be something else that they're working into WatchOS that requires that added process, because Apple planned you know new software in conjunction with the hardware that's coming out in a few months. So you can kind of look at the new updates, whether it's WatchOS or iOS or iPadOS, and you kind of discern a little bit and kind of get small hints about what the hardware is going to look like based off of new changes in the software. So if we do end up getting heavy redesign of the interface, third party watch face, there are just more features on the wrist, then I would suspect that, yeah, we would probably have a new chip out in September.
sure, makes sense. And
Yeah.
also oh, you mentioned the slowdown. The only time I had a watch that was horribly slow was when I had the Series 2. Like near the end of its life, it was like, this is becoming a little bit. But I've had the Series 5 since for 4 years, and it's still working fine. So it's testament
Yeah.
to the modern watches. So
Yeah. No, if you have a Series 5 or later, your Series 4, even a Series 3 pushing it,
yeah,
um, Series 4 or later, I mean, you're probably fine.
hmm
But yeah, I mean, I love my Apple Watch. It's become such a integral part of my daily life that I really can't imagine imagine going day by day without it.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Mhm.
I keep leaving my phone everywhere, so I have to ping it to go and get it.
That is a helpful feature. Yeah, it is. It is
Yeah,
very helpful. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Just before we finish, have you got any advice for anyone looking to start out on their own, doing their own website? I mean, it's quite a niche thing, but not many people do it. But
Mhm.
look for someone looking to start out their own, doing their own publication, or
I think the best advice I would give you, or give to anyone like that. I guess there's really two parts to that advice. Number one is be very, very aware of what your weaknesses are, but more importantly, be very aware of what your strengths are. I think a lot of people know what they're bad at. I think if you ask someone what you're good at, that's where they stumble. I mean, you can ask someone, what do you not like? What are you bad at? And they'll say something. I would say like math or science or anything in that sort of field. But then you ask them what they're good at, and they'll hesitate and they'll pause and they won't really know the answer. It's so important when you go into doing something on your own that you very, very much know what you're good at. Because if you don't, you're going to struggle immensely. Versus knowing what you're good at. Because if you know what you're good at, you can double down on those things. And then what you're not good at, you can find other people that are good at what you're bad at, and sort of create a team around you, even if they're not your staff or your employees, just sort of a support structure that you can bounce ideas off of and sort of get advice from. So know what you're good at, know what you're bad at, and then I'd say the other advice I'd say is don't something that we're doing at Supercharge is if everyone else is going right, we go left. We you don't want to follow in the footsteps of others. You want to create your own path. So if you're looking to start your own publication or your own blog or your own website or whatever, think long and hard about what's going to make you stand out. Don't just try and copy and replicate what other people have already done. There's certainly not a shortage of websites on the internet that cover Apple and the rumors. So launching another one of those, what's the point, right? You have to bring something new to the table. You have to have a vision of what you want to see happen in that field, and then once you have those two things, I think you should be pretty set to go.
Also, like what I've learned doing my site as well is you've got to write what you're interested in. If you're not interested in what you're writing about, it's quite hard to. Well, there's really no point because it's quite you can't. You can't really find anything to say. If you're going to write about something that you're actually interested in, it really really helps because you can fill it out and you've got experience to sort of call back on, which is good. So
Yeah, passion radiates. If you're passionate about something, that radiates through in whatever you're doing, whether it's writing or videos or podcasting or whatever. Passion is visible. Passion is something that people will notice. If you're really passionate about something, it will come through without you having to even say it or vocalize it. It will come through. Yeah.
thanks for joining me, Sami, on the Creator Spotlight podcast. Once again, we had you on the show last year, so it's good to have you return. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you do?
Twitter, just Sami Fathi _ SAMI FATHI, and yeah, I keep everyone posted there. So find me up there.
Yep, and then you can find Supercharged News at superchargednews.com. Is it?
Or superchargednews.tech. Either.
Cool. Nice one.
Our actual name is Supercharged.
Okay.
That's the actual name. Unfortunately, the domain is taken. We will get that domain eventually, but for now, the domain is unfortunately Supercharged News. So
yeah, some domains people sit on for years. It's quite annoying.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Awesome. You can find the interface at theinterface.uk. We have 3 podcasts out now, so there's something for everyone. They've got interface.uk/podcasts and see what there is that we make. Thank you for joining me again, and we'll see you again next time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.